Everyone is watching. Right here. In the middle of the ward. The chief doctor's finger is pressed against her badge, not her chest, her name. His voice doesn't echo, it cuts. Pack your things. You're done in this hospital. The nurse doesn't argue. She doesn't cry. She doesn't even lift her eyes. Just stands there, silent, while every other doctor watches her career end in real time. That silence? That's what no one understands. Because what happens next isn't in the image. Less than 1 hour later, those same doors open. A Navy SEAL commander steps inside. He walks past surgeons, past security, past the chief doctor himself. He stops in front of the quiet nurse, straightens his back, and salutes. The emergency room never truly slept. It only slowed enough to remind everyone it was alive. And tonight it seemed to be watching her. Fluorescent lights hummed like restless ghosts. Monitors beeped in uneven rhythms, nervous heartbeats of patients and doctors alike. The air smelled of antiseptic, sweat, and the metallic tang that clung to the ER walls like a shadow. Stretchers rolled through swinging doors, wheels squealing over the linoleum. Paramedics shouted vitals. Doctors barked orders. Nurses dashed between beds, eyes darting, hands moving like lightning. And at the far end of Trauma Bay 3, Nurse Evelyn Carter stood perfectly still. She didn't pace, didn't rush, didn't fill the room with noise. She moved with intent. Each motion precise, a hand adjusting in four-line, a thumb checking a pulse without looking at the monitor, a step back exactly at the right moment. People noticed her, but they didn't understand her. "She's strange," a junior resident whispered near the supply cabinet. "No urgency," another replied. "Like she doesn't understand how bad things get in here." Evelyn heard them. Always did. She had learned long ago that silence was a weapon. People said more when they thought no one was listening. And she had listened. 6 months earlier, when she had first started, she had introduced herself politely. Evelyn Carter. Night shift. No one asked about her past. No one cared. They only saw the badge, registered nurse. No decorations, no seniority, no history. Exactly how she wanted it. Above the chaos, behind a thick glass wall, Dr. Malcolm Reeves watched. His office overlooked the ER like a control tower. He liked it that way. He liked power, authority, the ability to bend the floor to his will with a single glance, a single command. Evelyn irritated him. "She hesitates," he muttered to the attending beside him. "She hasn't made a single error," the attending replied cautiously. "Errors aren't always obvious," Reeves said, voice low but sharp. "Sometimes they're quiet and deadly." And then the trauma alert went off. Red lights flashed. A chorus of alarms shrieked through the air. "Incoming!" someone shouted. Multiple injuries. One patient critical. Evelyn's eyes scanned the intake chart. Less than a second. Gunshot wound, entry clean, exit irregular. Her jaw tightened almost imperceptibly. Recognition flickered in her eyes, not from textbooks, not from simulations, from places louder, darker, and far more dangerous than this. A blood-stained gurney rolled past. She caught a glimpse of the patient's back, a scar, old, deliberate. Her fingers paused for half a beat, then moved again, precise, calculated, unstoppable. Around her, chaos raged. Doctors shouted, paramedics hustled, machines beeped and whirred. No one noticed the subtle shift, how her posture straightened, how her gaze sharpened, how she became more than just a quiet nurse. And above it all, Reeves watched. His face tightened, his jaw set. He had already decided. The quiet nurse didn't belong here, but he didn't know yet just how wrong he was. Because Evelyn Carter's night was far from ordinary, because tonight, she wasn't just a nurse, she was a force, a whisper of calm amid chaos, a shadow moving faster than anyone could follow, a silent hand that could save a life, or end a mistake. And someone out there had noticed, someone who didn't just respect skill, someone who commanded obedience, someone who would make the whole ER stop in its tracks the moment he walked through the doors. Because in less than an hour, a Navy SEAL commander would appear, and the silence surrounding Evelyn Carter would explode into respect, shock, and disbelief. The operating room roared like a storm crashing onto a fragile shore. Monitors screamed. The patient's vitals plummeted, blood pressure falling, heart rate erratic. Machines beeped warning alarms. Every second stretched. Dr. Malcolm Reeves barked orders like gunfire, scalpel, suction, prep for transfusion. Hands moved. Tools flew, the team scrambled, voices sharp, nerves taut. And then there was Evelyn Carter, calm, controlled, predicting every move before anyone even thought of it. She handed instruments before he asked, adjusted lines before alarms screamed. The storm swirled around her, yet she remained the eye, silent, precise, untouchable. Reeves noticed, and it bothered him. "Why are you just standing there?" His eyes narrowed, voice like a whip. "Monitoring pressure," Evelyn said, measured, calm. Her words were soft, almost disrespectful in their certainty. Reeves' face tightened. "I don't need quiet observers," he snapped. "I need nurses who act." The entire operating room froze. Every pair of eyes fixed on them. Reeves leaned closer, voice dropping into a hiss that cut through the tense air. "One more hesitation, Carter, and you're off my floor. Permanently." Evelyn met his glare without flinching. "Understood, sir." Her heartbeat never faltered. But beneath her composed exterior, memories stirred, images she had buried deep. Battlefield triage, chaotic medics shouting over screams, lives hanging by seconds, hands trained to act under fire, calm under pure raw chaos. No one in this sterile room had the faintest idea. Residents and scrub techs exchanged glances. Unsure, hesitant. They felt it. The tension vibrating in the air like a silent earthquake. Evelyn moved like a ghost with purpose, each incision deliberate, each clamp exact, every calculation precise. Reeves' anger simmered. His dominance screamed at him to assert authority. Yet every instinct in the room, including his, whispered a truth he didn't want to admit. She knew more than anyone here. Authority demanded obedience. Silence in the ER was unacceptable. "You think I don't see you?" Reeves muttered under his breath. Evelyn didn't respond. She never had to. Eyes locked on the patient, hands steady, mind sharper than any scalpel in the room. Quiet, calm, lethal. And somewhere deep inside, Evelyn knew this night was only the beginning, because soon, someone with power beyond the ER would arrive. Someone who commanded respect in ways Reeves never could. And when that moment came, everything in this room would change. Alarms screamed. Red lights flashed. Machines wailed like sirens in a storm. The patient flatlined. "Clear!" shouted a resident, voice trembling. "Nothing. Again. Nothing." Dr. Reeves's hands shook ever so slightly. A curse slipped past his lips, barely audible but sharp enough to cut through the chaos. "We're losing him," he muttered. Panic rippled through the room. Every heartbeat felt louder than the last. And then, Evelyn stepped forward. Her calm presence was a blade cutting through the noise, the chaos, the fear. "Permission to speak," she said, voice low, controlled, commanding. All eyes turned. The room went still. Reeves' glare could have frozen water. "Make it fast," he said, teeth clenched, voice sharp as glass. Evelyn leaned closer to the patient, eyes scanning, fingers pointing with precision. "He's a Navy SEAL," she said, steady, certain. "Left subclavian injury. The bleeding pattern suggests a prior field repair. Clamp higher. Now." Time seemed to slow. The room froze. A resident whispered, barely audible, "How could she possibly know that?" Evelyn didn't answer. She simply gestured at the exact vessel. Calm, precise, lethal. Reeves hesitated. One heartbeat. Two. Then he moved. Followed her instruction. Blood flow slowed. Pulse returned. Machines beeped steady once more. A tense silence fell. The staff exchanged glances, uncertain if they should speak. "That wasn't luck," someone muttered under their breath. Evelyn already knew. Help was coming. Her eyes flicked to the hospital windows. Distant at first, then unmistakable, the low thrum of helicopter blades growing louder, shaking the very air. Every second stretched. Every breath carried anticipation. Something was arriving that would change everything. She didn't need to see it to know. She had prepared for this moment long before she ever set foot in this hospital. Every skill, every discipline, every secret kept. And when those doors finally burst open, the room would have no choice but to witness the truth. The quiet nurse wasn't just capable, she was extraordinary. And soon, everyone would understand why. The thrum started faintly, almost like a distant heartbeat. Rotor blades sliced through the calm night air, whispering power and inevitability. The Black Hawk descended onto the hospital roof, stirring dust and debris into a swirling storm. Security personnel scrambled, radios clattering. Doctors looked up from their patients, startled, mid-breath. Machines beeped, alarms shrieked, but the sound of that helicopter overpowered everything. A predator arriving. Then the ER doors swung open with authority. 6 men entered, step precise. Uniforms immaculate, boots clicking in rhythm against the floor like a drumline. Eyes scanning, calculated, taking in every face, every movement, every sign of weakness. And at the center walked one figure. Tall, commanding, every step purposeful, a presence that bent the room around him. Calm, confident, dangerous in the quiet way that only a Navy SEAL could be. "Navy SEAL Commander Daniel Hayes," he announced. Voice smooth, resonant, every word weighted. "I'm here for my operator." Whispers rippled like wind through the room. Nurses froze mid-step. Residents' jaws slackened. Doctors exchanged uncertain glances. Dr. Reeves stepped forward, chest puffed, trying to assert control. "I'm the chief surgeon. He's in surgery." The commander's gaze didn't waver. It swept past him, sharp, piercing, and locked onto Evelyn. Time slowed. The chaos of the ER collapsed into silence. The beeping of monitors, the blaring alarms, even the shuffle of boots around the room faded into background noise. He stopped, stood tall, shoulders squared, every muscle a statement, every eye in the room tracked him. Then the gesture that shifted everything, a crisp, precise military salute. "Permission to enter, ma'am," he said, calm, formal, yet undeniably commanding. The ER collectively held its breath. Evelyn's eyes met his. A subtle shift in posture. Calm. Confident. In control. A smile, almost imperceptible, tugged at the corner of her lips, a silent acknowledgement that she had been ready for this moment all along. Around them, the staff could hardly believe what they were witnessing. The quiet nurse they had dismissed, the one no one had understood, had someone here who respected her authority instinctively. Dr. Reeves's face went pale. Shock, disbelief, and a flicker of fear twisted his features. Every shred of dominance he had relied on evaporated under the weight of that single salute. The room seemed to compress, pressure mounting, every heartbeat loud. Time itself felt suspended. This was not just a nurse, not just a shift. This was a revelation. And as Commander Hayes lowered his hand, still at attention, the unspoken truth settled across the room like a tidal wave. Evelyn Carter was extraordinary. She had been trained for this, prepared for this, silent, deadly, precise, respected, even by the most elite. Reeves would have to face it. The patient's monitors beeped steadily, life restored. A calm after the storm. But the real storm had already passed through the ER. Authority had shifted, respect redistributed, and the quiet nurse had proven she was in command of more than just patients. Every eye in the room understood now. She had been underestimated. She had been ready. And she had just silently, irreversibly changed everything. The room seemed to hold its breath. Evelyn returned the salute with precision. Every motion deliberate. Every line in her body language spoke volumes. Authority, confidence, control. Calm amidst chaos, like a storm wrapped in serenity. "At ease, Commander," she said softly, but the sound carried. Every ear in the ER caught it. Even the machine seemed to pause, synchronizing to the rhythm of her words. Hayes nodded, eyes scanning the room. He lingered on stunned faces, doctors frozen mid-action, nurses gripping instruments, residents holding their breath. Shock rippled through every corner. "You trained him," Hayes said quietly, almost reverently, turning to Evelyn. "You saved him long before tonight." A murmur went through the room, but no one dared speak. The weight of that statement settled like a stone in every stomach. Dr. Reeves's face went pale. Shock and disbelief collided on his features. His authority, once absolute, trembled under the gravity of the moment. Who are you?" he stammered, voice cracking, hands twitching as if trying to grasp the impossible. Evelyn's hand moved slowly, deliberately, lifting her badge. Her calmness contrasted sharply with the storm of emotion around her. Beneath the badge, faint but unmistakable, the sealed trident tattoo. etched into her skin like a silent signature of experience, honor, and lethal expertise. Former Chief Medical Officer, she said clearly, each word measured. Naval Special Warfare. The ER went completely silent, every whisper cut off. Every glance froze mid-motion. Even the alarms and monitors seemed to soften, as if recognizing the significance of the moment. Hayes' eyes narrowed slightly as he turned to Reeves, voice calm but firm. "You threatened to fire her." Reeves could do nothing. Words failed him, his throat tight, his mind scrambling to reconcile the quiet nurse he had underestimated with the legend now standing before him. Every heartbeat in the room synced to the tension. Monitors beeped steadily. Life restored, but the real restoration was in authority, respect, and realization. The staff exchanged stunned glances. Some tried to speak, but the weight of the revelation silenced them. Evelyn stepped forward, each movement purposeful, commanding, yet elegant. She didn't need to speak again. The room already understood. She passed Dr. Reeves, calm and unflinching. Every eye followed her as she walked through the ER, a trail of respect and awe in her wake. Patients, doctors, nurses, they watched silently. The quiet nurse they had dismissed, ignored, underestimated, was extraordinary. Hayes followed her lead, still standing tall, still commanding. His presence reinforced what had already been proven. Evelyn Carter was a force the ER had never seen before. Reeves sank slightly into his chair, a shadow of the man who had tried to wield authority through fear. Authority, he now understood, was not just in titles or sharp words. It was in skill, calmness under fire, decisiveness, and earned respect. The room exhaled collectively, not with words but with realization. The patient's pulse had returned to steady rhythm, life sustained, but the story of the night, the lesson learned, would be etched into every witness forever. Later, when Evelyn finally walked away, the ER remained still, not from fear, not from shock alone, but from awareness that they had witnessed something rare, a person who commanded respect without raising their voice, who had prepared for every contingency, who could save a life, a reputation, and authority in a single calm gesture. She passed through the chaos silently, leaving behind a room transformed. Doctors exchanged glances, nurses whispered, residents gasped. Hayes gave a single nod of acknowledgement, no words needed. Evelyn had done more than save a patient. She had rewritten the rules, and everyone in that room knew it. Some heroes choose silence, not because they are timid, not because they lack power, but because true strength doesn't need an audience. Others, though, they mistake it for weakness. They underestimate. They doubt. They scoff at calm. But if you stay long enough, if you watch closely, you'll see the truth revealed. The quiet ones, the overlooked, the unassuming, the invisible, often carry the heaviest courage. They are the ones who make the impossible possible. They are the ones who save lives when everyone else panics. They are the ones who rewrite the rules, without fanfare, without applause, without recognition, until the moment comes when the world cannot ignore them. If you want to uncover more untold stories, stories of bravery hidden behind silence, stories of ordinary people revealing extraordinary courage, hit subscribe, turn on notifications. Don't miss the next story that might leave you speechless, because sometimes the quietest person in the room isn't just part of the background. They're the one who changes everything. And tonight, you've just witnessed one of those moments.